There is a clay prism in Oxford, 4,000 years old, 4 sides packed with cuneiform, that lists kings who each ruled for tens of thousands of years. One of them, a king named Alulim, sat on the throne for 28,800 years. This is the object the entire ancient aliens theory rests on. Its #1 exhibit. Proof, they say, that beings who were not human once ruled this planet. And on one point, the theory is exactly right. It is real. The prism exists. You can stand in front of it. It really does say a man reigned for 28,000 years. The only thing wrong with the alien story is everything the alien story claims it means. So let me give you the whole timeline. Every alien, every visitation, every god who supposedly came down from the sky in order, but not the version you were sold, the real one. And by the end, you are going to know the exact year the aliens actually arrived on Earth. It is not the one you think. You decide. So let me clear one thing out of the way. If you came here for me to confirm that the Anunnaki were astronauts who flew in to mine gold and built us as slaves, this is not going to be that video. But do not leave, because what the tablets actually say is stranger than the alien version. And unlike the alien version, you can read it tonight. Here is what I am going to show you, and I will hold to it the whole way down. Every alien in this story is a real god, with a name, with a temple, with a catalog number in a museum you could visit this week. Nobody invented these beings. Somebody just changed what they were. This is the complete timeline of the ancient aliens on Earth. So hold that prism in your head. The kings who ruled for 30,000 years. We come back to it, and when we do, the answer is going to be stranger than a spaceship. Start with the word everyone knows, Anunnaki. The theory says it means those who from heaven came, sky people. And on the strength of that one translation, a whole mythology got built. There is just a problem. That is not what the word means. In Sumerian, Anunna breaks down to something much plainer. The princely offspring. The seed of An. An was the sky god. The Anunnaki were his children and grandchildren, the high gods of the Mesopotamian world, and their work had nothing to do with flying. They sat in council and decreed the fates. The oldest place we find the name written down is in the inscriptions of a ruler named Gudea, around 2100 BC, in the city of Lagash. Not a star map, a king dedicating a temple. So on day 1 of the timeline, the aliens are just the gods, filed in clay by a priest 4,000 years ago. Now back to the prism. The kings who ruled for tens of thousands of years. Surely that is the smoking gun. No human lives that long, so they must have been something else. Here is what actually happened, and it is the most boring, beautiful thing in this whole story. The Sumerians did not count the way we count. We use base 10. They used base 60. Sexagesimal. It is the reason we still have 60 minutes in an hour and 360 degrees in a circle. We inherited it from them. And when you take those impossible reigns and read them in base 60, the spell breaks. Almost every single one turns into a clean, round multiple of 60 squared. They are not lifespans. They are not records of long-lived astronauts. They are numerology. A scribe handing each ancient king a sacred number to show how grand the old days were. The 28,000 years is real. The idea that it was one person's life. That part got added in 1976. Hold that year. We are going to need it. Stop 3. And this is the one that looks the most like an alien. So watch closely. The Mesopotamians told of 7 sages who came before the flood. The Apkallu. The first was called Oannes, and the description is genuinely uncanny. A being with the body of a fish, who rose out of the water at the dawn of history, walked among the first people and taught them everything. Writing, law, farming, how to build a city. Put that on television and it writes itself. Amphibious visitors, seeding civilization. Except we know exactly where this comes from. A Babylonian priest named Berossus wrote it down in the 3rd century BC from records already ancient in his own time. The Apkallu were not aliens. They were the sages of Enki, the god of the deep fresh water, the Abzu. They were how a culture explained its own genius. Where did writing come from? Where did law come from? It felt too big to be human, so they said it was given from the water. The fish sages are named in the Epic of Gilgamesh, credited with building the walls of Uruk. They are carved onto palace walls sitting in the British Museum right now. Real, documented, just not from space. Stop 4, and this one you already know, because we gave it its own video. The Watchers. In the Book of Enoch, 200 angels descend to earth, take human wives, and father a race of giants, the Nephilim. They teach humanity forbidden knowledge, metalworking, weapons, sorcery. Beings who came down from the sky and bred with us. If you have ever heard the claim that aliens engineered the human race, this is its skeleton. This is where it was lifted from. And it is not fringe. The Book of Enoch is real, quoted by name inside your own New Testament. And copies in Aramaic were found in the caves of Qumran, older than Jesus. We can read it. It is a religious text about angels and sin. The aliens are a costume someone put on it 3,000 years later. And notice the pattern forming. Every single time, there is a real document sitting in the open, more specific and stranger than the story built on top of it. Which brings me to stop 5, the keystone, the single most repeated claim in the entire theory, that the Anunnaki came to Earth to mine gold, and when the work got hard, they engineered us, humanity, as a slave species to dig it for them. That is the heart of it. That is the part that turns a misreading into a religion. So I went looking for the tablet, the one that says that. Because a claim that big has to come from a source. There is no tablet. Search the entire electronic text corpus of Sumerian literature, the digital archive of the actual texts, and the gold mining slave story is not in it. The man who sold that story to the world never once gave a line you could check. For every other claim in this video, I can hand you a catalog number. For the one the whole theory is built on, the file is empty. So if it did not come from a tablet, where did it come from? Who wrote it and when? That is the real timeline. And it is a lot shorter than 400,000 years. Step back and count what we just did. 5 touchstones. The Anunnaki, the kings, the fish sages, the watchers, the gold. 5 separate ancient sources, 3 different cultures, 2,000 years apart. And everyone turned out to be a real text that says something more careful and frankly more interesting than the alien version. So why does the alien version exist at all? Because almost nobody read the tablets. They read someone who said he had. The whole structure stands on trust, passed from one book to the next, each author quoting the last, while the original clay sat in a glass case the entire time, contradicting all of them in silence. So here is the timeline I actually promised you. The arrival of the ancient aliens on Earth. With dates, it does not begin in Sumer. It begins in the 1800s, with a mystic named Helena Blavatsky, who wrote of hidden masters from the stars, a seed. But it stays fringe for almost a century. Then the landing, 1968. A Swiss hotel manager named Erich von Däniken publishes a book called Chariots of the Gods. He looks at the pyramids, the Nazca lines, the old gods, and asks the same question on every page. What if it was aliens? He offers almost no evidence. It sells more than 70 million copies. That is the arrival, not 400,000 years ago, 1968. Then, 8 years later, the part that named names, 1976. A writer named Zecharia Sitchin publishes The 12th Planet, and he does the one thing von Däniken never did. He gets specific. He names a planet, Nibiru, on a 3,600-year orbit. He names the Anunnaki as its crew. He writes the gold and the slaves and the genetic engineering. He builds the whole cathedral, and the Assyriologists, the people who actually read Sumerian for a living, reject every word of it. The mistranslations, the planet NASA says is not there, the tablet that does not exist, but it does not matter, because the story is too good, and the clay does not do interviews. And the last step, the one that put it in your house, 2010. A television network turns it into a series. The man with the hair becomes a meme, and the costume becomes permanent. The 1800s, 1968, 1976, 2010. That is the entire arrival of the ancient aliens on Earth, and not one date on it is ancient. Now, the skeptics get their fair point, and I will give it to them honestly. None of this was a conspiracy. Von Däniken was not a villain. He was a man with a wild idea and a gift for selling it, and people wanted to believe. All true. But here is the fact that refuses to sit down. Every one of these authors said the ancient texts were too strange for ordinary humans to have made. And the joke is, they were right that the texts are strange. They just never read how strange, because the documented version was always weirder than the thing they made up. So take this to bed tonight. The Anunnaki are real. They are in the Louvre on the cylinders of Gudea. The kings who ruled 30,000 years are real. On a prism in Oxford you can photograph. The fish sage is real, carved on a wall in the British Museum. The angels who came down are real, in a scroll from Qumran, older than the Gospels. None of it is hidden. There is no suppressed archive, no vault under the desert. It is behind glass, lit, catalogued, with opening hours in a gift shop. The only thing anyone ever really hid from you was what the tablets actually say. Every alien in this story was a real god, with a catalog number. The visitors did arrive, just not in a ship and not in Sumer. They arrived in a hotel room in Switzerland in 1968, in a book. And the strangest thing on this whole timeline is the one nobody is selling, that a people 4,000 years ago with cut reeds and wet clay wrote down their gods, their kings, and their fish-shaped teachers so carefully that we can still correct the record today. That is not in the fantasy. That is in the archive. And that is where the next one starts.